It's time to finish up the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And right now we're actually from Pioneer. We're joined by Holly Loucas, who's based out of, well, and there's no Eiffel Tower there, but it is called Paris, Ontario. How are we doing today, Holly?
We're good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Good. Is there a famous landmark in Paris, Ontario?
We are at the junction of two rivers. So the Grand River and the Nith River meet in downtown Paris. And we are called the prettiest little town in Ontario.
Seems fitting to me. Seems fitting to me. Okay, so earlier on the show, we had Steve Twinestrom from Elsa Craig, and he talked about 60% of normal moisture, some tip back, lack of kernel depth on the corn, a little bit concerned about the potential yield and just, trying to live to fight another day is kind of how I'm summarizing that. What are you seeing in your travels, Holly?
I would echo those exact comments. I would say we're probably less moisture. I didn't look at the numbers, but I'd say we're at least 50% of our normal moisture. And heat. We've had a lot of heat. I think for the entire month of August, most days, we were in that at least high 28, 29, a lot of days over 30. So when you combine the really, really dry, no rain with excessive heat, it's kind of created an interesting environment this year for our crops.
Agronomically, are there concerns about quick dry down when we've got these kind of conditions?
Yes, yeah, that's one of the factors. And we're just so dry, like the air sucks the moisture out of everything in soil. Just there's no moisture anywhere to keep it. But we're also just that high heat combined with a lot of sunlight and dry soils. We haven't had any disease pressure to speak of. No white mold, even root rots that were around in June. They just dried up and the beans were able to carry on. And then disease pressure in corn, minimal leaf diseases, tar spot. It's showing up. We're getting some pressure, so we'll have residue in the soil for 2026, but it's really not taking a yield penalty at all.
Yeah, you think about
We've had insects, lots of
yeah,
insects.
yeah. So where have the main insect concerns been? And just from maybe from an insect type, I wasn't meaning geographically, but type.
Seen a lot more Western mean cutworm than I had thought was around. But corn rootworm is one of the main ones. Seeing a lot of beetles kind of in the August window, but then a lot of late emergers, which typically are the ones that are partially resistant as well. So those would be the two that come to mind. In
Yeah,
August we had other things, but yeah, those are the two big ones on corn.
yeah. From the disease standpoint, last year so much talk about tar spot. Where and the couple years previous, there we talked a lot about it. Maybe didn't see it to the extent that we had sort of thought, or which is good. Last year we did see it.
Yep.
This year, of course, we talked about it, but it just shows again. You got to have the conditions for a disease like that to show itself.
Yep. Yeah, I've been out looking. You can find the occasional spot around. You could, 3 weeks ago, you could find an occasional spot here and there, but it didn't develop. It wasn't in those 2 week cycles where, thousands and thousands of spores were just infecting the crops and the plants that are out there. So,
Yeah.
my biggest message to growers is it's still a disease and there's going to be enough in the residue that we need to pay attention to it in 2026 as well.
Yeah. When we think about our hybrid selection, we have this human tendency to like pick hybrids or varieties for last year's problems, right? And
Yep.
so we got to make sure that we're not out of the woods when it comes to tar spot. You're
Yeah. And our biggest thing is make sure if, it's your high value crop, make sure you get a fungicide on. So
Yep.
I don't want people to skimp on fungicide next year, even though, commodity prices are low and inputs prices are still where they are. So it's not something you want to skimp on because we don't want to have a 2024 problem again.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been hearing about is have you seen or heard about some of the red colored tingy soybeans? What's going on
I
there?
have. I have. So we had a pretty good rain across southern Ontario about 2 weeks ago, a nice 1 inch, 1.5 inch. Thought it was going to finish off the beans really well. And fast forward to the last few days, maybe the last week, we started to see the beans turn a purplish color. So it's just mainly anthocyanin accumulation based on all that sugar from that rain. being in the leaves, and because we were dry, there's not as many pods on the plant. There's not as many beans per pod, pods per node, all that kind of thing. There just wasn't anywhere for that sugar to go. And some of the beans, our wheat beans, were already, getting close to being finished and just weren't able to utilize those sugars. So they sit in the leaves, turns purple with anthocyanin production, and just has a hue over top of the field that
Yeah.
similar to purple corn in the spring, right? Just later in season. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah. Plants do
From a
interesting.
physiology standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a plant nerd, you're super excited.
Yes.
Ollie. I don't mean to offend you, but yeah.
I am. I am a plant nerd, 100%. I go, "Ooh,
Yeah.
look how cool."
And a very proud one at that.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, absolutely. What else have you seen out in the countryside?
So the last thing I would want to mention is we've been dry, we've been hot, we've been dry. The corn is starting, depending on your dryness level, we've had really variable precipitation, right? One field got half an inch, field across the road got 2/10. So just the tops of the plants are starting to cannibalize. Seen a bit of premature death in corn as well, but just mainly, the plants are just running out of moisture, and then that ear is triggering. Kernels are shallow, they're full. The ear is triggering to the plant that it's done. So my fear is we've cannibalized a lot of the stalks. So I would pay attention to your stalks, pay attention to your droughty fields, and try and prevent as much harvest loss as you can by good, harvest practices, and making sure you're setting up the combine stuff ready to do that. But prioritize fields so we don't have weak stalks and get a big rainstorm or windstorm.
Holly, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Before I let you go, Holly, did you know that Pioneer is going to be 100 years old?
I might have heard that.
You may have heard of
Yes.
that. Well, hey, today's show is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And I want to talk to you about Pioneer 100 series, the highest yielding Pioneer brand canola hybrids ever. This isn't just better canola, it's different canola. Contact your local Pioneer sales representative or visit pioneer.com/100 series to learn more. Thanks everybody for getting real and getting connected with Real Ag Radio. We'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.